Hello, how are you doing? It's quite a grey and rainy day here in London, which actually I'm not complaining about. I quite like this type of weather and I love the autumnal period and just sort of cooler temperatures, but it's quite different from what I've experienced recently because I had a 2+ week holiday, which was mostly quite sunny and fairly warm, even though I was going around a region of the United States, which isn't typically like that. But yeah, so it's quite different from what I've experienced recently. And one of the wonderful things about returning home after traveling for quite a while is there's a buildup of books just on the other side of my front door, like through my letterbox in the door, because I am very lucky enough that publishers quite often send me copies of books in advance or that have just been published, and so it's always a wonderful treat to return home to. I mean, I always love returning home to London anyway because I love this city, but yeah, to have so many new books. So I thought it would be fun to go through, open up some of these books live here on camera, and we can discover them together because yeah, it's a great surprise of seeing what is in these boxes. And I have quite a few, so I'm going to try to hold them up without dropping all of them. So yeah, quite a lot of post. I could barely open the door when we got back. But yeah, so I'm going to go through, and why not start with one of the big boxes? So let's see what's inside and go over together. So first off, oh wow, yeah, this is quite a big book. So this is called Tale of the Dreamer's Son by Preeta Samarasan. Here we go, beautiful cover. So this takes place in Malaysia in a former Scottish tea planter's mansion, and within this structure a community has these utopian ideals where religion and race do not matter and everyone can live peacefully. And this is sort of inspired by events. They were inspired to create this community because of events in the late 1960s in Malaysia, when their ethnic tensions led to a lot of bloodshed in the country. And this includes a blurb by Ali Smith, which will always hook me into a book. She says, Samarasan's talent combines elegance and potency. Next up, we have, what is this? A Silence Shared by Lalla Romano. And this is published by Pushkin Press. And this is described as a diamond-sharp, captivating Italian classic about the mysterious relationships between two couples in occupied Italy, and it's just been published in English for the very first time. So yeah, it's about a group of individuals that bond with each other in their isolation in remote villages in Italy when Germany is coming and descending and occupying the country during World War II. And yeah, what a beautiful kind of mysterious, ghostly cover. Sometimes I really struggle getting these things open. So next, oh, there's a new book by Sophie Macintosh called Cursed Bread. I've really admired and enjoyed her novel The Water Cure, which was listed for the Booker Prize previously. And this new novel is about a baker's wife who is quite unremarkable seeming on the outside, but a new couple come to town. She starts following them around, and then lots of mysterious things start occurring in this town. It's described as an eerie historical mystery about desire, memory, and madness. And it comes with a blurb by Deborah Levy, who says, "Be sure to read everything Sophie Macintosh writes." Okay. Ooh, okay, this is a hardback book called Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday. The author is described as a philosopher and life hacker, and the book is about the 4 virtues of temperance, courage, justice, and wisdom, and how these are the basis of Stoicism, but they are worthless without the practice of self-discipline. So he looks into how we can implement that into our lives. And self-discipline is something I really need to work into my life, especially in the nighttime of shutting off from going online and looking online, because that's really messing with my sleep. Next up, we have, it's one of these harder to open packages. Okay, here we go. And, there's quite a big book inside. And this is In Ascension by Martin MacInnes. This sounds so good. I've read this author's first novel called Infinite Ground, which was really unique and unlike anything I'd read before, really thoughtful and insightful. And this new novel is about a young woman that grows up in quite a difficult household and takes refuge in going to the waterfront. And she continues to study life in the sea and algae and excels in her research there. And then one day a rift grows up in the underwater in the Atlantic, and she goes to investigate what is occurring there. And it looks at these different philosophical questions to do with life, but also the natural world. And there's a blurb on here from Neil Mukherjee, who says, "This is breathtaking, shiveringly, excitingly original. Read it and feel awe and wonder." And also the author Karen Joy Fowler gives a blurb where she says, "I don't think I've ever read a book that was as profound and moving at this scale. The cell, the family, the universe. In Ascension is a remarkable, expansive, stunning achievement." So yeah, it sounds really great. It is just under 500 pages long. And we have a very slight package here, very thin. So let's see what's inside. Good things come in small packages. Oh, it's actually just a catalog for the publisher One World about their new books coming out in January to June in 2023. Yes, we are already looking at the next period. So yeah, they publish really interesting new fiction. They take a lot of chances on new authors. So yeah, I'm looking forward to some of their new work. Let me see if there's any books by, actually I don't recognize any of these new authors. There's Will Dean, who I've always wanted to read. He writes kind of suspenseful crime fiction. But yeah, I don't recognize any of these other authors, so I'm going to have a browse through. Next up, another package that's a bit hard to get into. Let me see if I can, it's really glued shut. Okay, there, I did it. That's another hardback. Oh, yay! How exciting is the hardback of George Saunders' new collection of short stories, Liberation Day. I'm so excited to get to this. I think it'll be a real pleasure to read. His fiction is so interesting and edgy and joyful. There's a real joy and pleasure in his fiction. Hopefully I can read some of these short stories aloud to my partner sort of before bedtime. I think that'll be a lovely thing to do. And I always appreciate good inside paper. So you can see on the inside cover of this, there's kind of these globes or comets that are that seem to have these like tails behind them. Yeah, really nice. And coming up next, we have, that was surprisingly easy to get into. And this is a hardback of another one of my most anticipated books for this autumn, which is A Line in the World by Dorothy Noers. And this is a memoir account of her life. Look how beautiful this is. There's some gold foil on the book. And so it takes place in this particular area of the coastline between Holland and Denmark. And I want to be careful, so when I spoke about this area of land before, I got the sort of borders wrong. But yeah, it talks about growing up on this unique coastline. So looking into the history of this area of the continent in Europe, but also her personal experiences and life growing up there. Yes, on the inside cover, there's a wonderful map that shows exactly the area that she's talking about. Okay, what have we here? Ooh, I've been told it's very calming, the sound of opening a box like that. Oh, great! Yay! And this is a finished copy of The Golden Mole by Katherine Rundell, which I talked about in a previous wrap-up video. I've read almost all of these stories. I got an advance copy of this book, and this is the finished copy. Again, a more beautiful gold foil on this book, and I'm so excited to get a hardback of this edition because this will also include illustrations with each of the animals, because each chapter is about a different unique animal that exists in the world that has so many wondrous qualities to it. It almost seems unbelievable that these animals even exist. The very first chapter is about wombats, and look at this too. There's beautiful gold on the edges of the pages, and look at the inside. It's like almost like cells. And again, I before bedtime, I've been reading a chapter aloud to my husband before we go to sleep, and each chapter is only like 3 to 4 pages long. So it's a wonderful thing to read right before bed. And oh, look, here's the wombat. Here's the wombat. So cute. It's so cute. I love wombats. And but yeah, and each section also ends with information about climate change and the environmental impact upon these wondrous creatures' lives. And yeah, so this book is such a beautiful thing. What a joy to get to this. It's gonna be a real pleasure to go through and look at all the illustrations as well. So yeah, gorgeous. Really recommend this book. Okay, I just have a few more to go, and oh, I got this all wrong. Now I'm gonna have to really tear into this to get into it, and I'm worried that there's gonna be like a dust cloud. Okay, phew. Okay, I fixed it. I did it. We got in. Really rips this open, you can see. And this book is called Fever by Jonathan Bazzi. So this is a memoir about how the author was living in Milan happily with his boyfriend and their 2 cats when one day he got a fever, and the fever didn't go away over a period of time. So he went to a doctor and was diagnosed as HIV positive. So it's about reckoning with coming down with that disease and the effect it has upon his life. His writing has been compared to Edouard Louis, if you ever read his powerful writing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. Okay, I have a rather large, very thin package. So let's see what's in here. Oh, there's a hardback, very slim hardback from Granta Books, who are wonderful, and it's called Weasel in the Attic by Kiroko Oyamada. This story follows the conversation between 2 friends who meet over a course of a number of dinners to discuss a weasel infestation, but also there are secrets to do with their lives. So sounds very intriguing. And then finally, I have this very large package, which is also fairly thin, but I think is going to be quite difficult to get into, so I'm going to have to really rip it apart to get this open. And this is called The Other Eden by Paul Harding, who had previously won the Pulitzer Prize. I remember now, this is the author of Tinkers, which is a book I read a long time ago, but which I remember being quite beautiful and unique in its writing. And this is a story which sort of begins in 1792 when a formerly enslaved man meets and marries an Irish woman. So it's an interracial relationship, and they discover an island where their interracial relationship isn't such a big issue, and they can kind of live peacefully. And it follows the story over a century later when their descendants are still living on this island, and it's inspired by a true story, and it's actually inspired by a racially integrated island off from the coast of Maine. And I was born and raised in the state of Maine, and I don't think I've ever heard about this island or knew about these stories. So this will be really fascinating to read about. So yeah, what a great group of books. Really diverse selection. So I hope you enjoyed discovering these books with me and then opening up these packages. Have a lot of great reading to get to. But let me know if you've read any of these and would recommend them, or if you're interested in reading any of them now. Let me know about that in the comments below and we can have a chat about it. But I hope you're doing well, reading good things, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.